Elon Musk, the famous entrepreneur known for his work with Tesla and SpaceX, had always been a busy man. He was constantly working on new innovations, thinking of ways to change the world. But one day, something different happened. Elon decided to visit an old age home. It was a place that many people often overlooked, but to Elon, it felt important. He had heard about the challenges that elderly people face. Some lived alone, others had no family nearby, and many simply felt forgotten. Elon thought that maybe, just maybe, he could do something to help. He didn't have a specific plan at first, but he knew that he wanted to visit and see what he could do. On a quiet afternoon, Elon drove to the old age home, which was nestled in a calm neighborhood. As he stepped out of his car, he looked around. The building was warm and welcoming, with large windows that let in the light. The garden outside was filled with flowers, and there was a peaceful atmosphere in the air. Inside the home, there were elderly women sitting in comfortable chairs. Some were knitting, while others were chatting with each other. The walls were decorated with beautiful artwork, and the air smelled of fresh coffee. It was a cozy place, but it also felt like many of the residents were missing something. Maybe a little excitement, maybe a little company. When Elon walked in, the staff at the old age home were surprised. They knew who he was, but they didn't expect someone like him to visit. Elon smiled and greeted everyone in the room. He shook hands with a few of the residents who were a bit shocked but pleased to meet him. One elderly woman named Betty was sitting in the corner of the room. She had a warm smile, but there was a hint of sadness in her eyes. She had lived in the old age home for a few years after her children moved away. Elon walked up to her and sat down beside her. "Hello, Betty," he said kindly. "It's a pleasure to meet you." Betty's eyes widened. "Oh my, it's really you! I never thought I'd meet someone like you in a place like this." Elon chuckled. "Well, it's not every day that I visit an old age home, but I think it's a great place to be, and I wanted to see it for myself." Betty smiled, and the two of them began chatting. They talked about her life, her children, and her dreams. Betty told Elon how much she missed her family, but that she had learned to make the best of things. She had made friends at home, and they often played cards together or talked about their past adventures. But sometimes Betty couldn't help but feel lonely. As they continued to talk, Elon listened carefully. He could see the wisdom in Betty's eyes, but he also saw the loneliness that many elderly people face. He wondered how he could help. A few of the other residents gathered around to listen to the conversation. They smiled and nodded, happy to see Elon giving them attention. The room was filled with a sense of warmth and respect. It was clear that the elderly women in the home had lived through many years of challenges and triumphs. Their stories were full of wisdom, and Elon knew that he was learning something valuable from them. "Betty," Elon said thoughtfully, "I have an idea. How about I help bring more attention to this place? I think people need to know how wonderful it is here, and maybe I can help bring in some new technology, or even more visitors to keep things lively." Betty looked at him with a surprised but hopeful expression. "You really think that's possible? We would love to have more visitors. It can get lonely sometimes, you know." Elon nodded. "I can help with that. I've got a lot of ideas. Maybe we can bring in some virtual reality headsets so you can take trips to places you've never been before. Or how about some live-streamed concerts to bring some entertainment?" The other women in the room looked at each other with excitement. They had never thought about using technology like that, but the idea seemed amazing. They loved the idea of exploring new places or enjoying live music from the comfort of their own chairs. Elon spent the rest of the afternoon talking to the residents, getting to know their stories, and learning about what they needed. Some women wanted to stay more connected to their families, so Elon promised to work on a project that would allow them to do video calls with their loved ones. Others mentioned that they didn't have enough activities to keep them busy, so Elon suggested organizing events that would bring people from the outside world to the home, like art shows, or even local school visits. As the day came to a close, Elon stood up to leave. The elderly women were all smiling and waving him goodbye. Betty looked at him with gratitude in her eyes. "You've given us hope," she said softly. "Thank you, Elon." Elon smiled back. "It's my pleasure, Betty. You all deserve to have a full and happy life, no matter how old you are. I'll do what I can to make sure that happens." As Elon walked out of the old age home, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He realized that sometimes it wasn't about creating the next big invention or launching a new project. It was about making a difference in the lives of people who needed it most. A few weeks later, Elon returned to the old age home with a team of engineers and volunteers. They had brought with them virtual reality headsets, high-quality video call equipment, and even some tablets for the residents to use. They set up a small area for video calls and taught the elderly women how to use the technology. The women were thrilled. Betty was the first to try out the virtual reality headset. She couldn't believe her eyes as she was transported to the beaches of Hawaii, walking along the sand with the sound of the waves in her ears. The other women took turns exploring different places, from the Eiffel Tower in Paris to the Great Wall of China. Elon's visit had sparked something special in the old age home. Not only had it brought new technology and excitement, but it had also shown the elderly women that they were valued, respected, and worthy of attention. The news of Elon's visit quickly spread, and soon the old age home was receiving more visitors, donations, and support than ever before. People from all over the community came to spend time with the residents, offering their help and showing that they cared. The impact of Elon's visit was far-reaching. It didn't just improve the lives of the elderly women at the home. It sparked a movement of kindness, compassion, and respect for the elderly. More people began to understand the importance of taking care of those who had paved the way for future generations. As for Elon, he learned something important that day. While he had been busy changing the world with technology and innovation, sometimes the most powerful impact he could make was by simply showing kindness and listening to the stories of others. And in doing so, he had made a difference in the lives of people who would forever remember the day Elon Musk visited their old age home. As time went on, Elon's visit to the old age home became a symbol of hope and compassion for many communities. The technology that had been introduced to the residents made a world of difference. It wasn't just about the virtual reality trips or the video calls. It was the connections that were formed. The elderly women had something to look forward to, something that made them feel seen, valued, and appreciated in a way they hadn't felt in years. The local schools took part in the program that Elon had suggested. Students started visiting the old age home regularly to interact with the residents. They would sing songs, read books, or simply chat with the elderly women. The visits became a monthly tradition, and the residents looked forward to it with excitement. What was even more heartwarming was that the elderly women began to share their life stories with the younger generation. The students were fascinated by the rich experiences and wisdom of the elderly. They learned about history from first-hand accounts, heard stories of resilience and love, and even learned valuable life lessons that couldn't be found in textbooks. Betty, who had been one of the first to speak to Elon, became a leading voice for the other women. She was eager to tell her story and encourage others to join in the efforts to make the old age home a brighter place. She often spoke to the media about how Elon's visit had transformed the way the elderly were treated, and how it had sparked a movement to ensure that older people weren't forgotten. As the months went by, more donations came in, and the home began to look even more welcoming. The funds were used to create more recreational spaces, install a small library, and even build a garden where the residents could relax and enjoy nature. It wasn't just about physical improvements, though. The energy in the home had completely changed. There was more laughter, more joy, and more engagement with the outside world. Elon, too, continued to support the initiative. He kept in touch with the old age home and offered more resources when needed. He visited regularly, each time bringing new ideas or technologies that could benefit the residents. His dedication to the project was unwavering, and it became clear that he didn't just see the elderly as people to be pitied or cared for from afar. He saw them as individuals with unique experiences and stories that were worth celebrating. As word spread about the changes in the old age home, more and more people reached out to help. Local businesses donated food, and people from the community volunteered their time. It was no longer just about one man's visit. It had become a collective effort to ensure that the elderly had the support and care they deserved. In a world that often focuses on the future and innovation, Elon's visit to the old age home reminded everyone that the past was just as important. The elderly were the ones who had paved the way for the younger generations, and they deserved respect, care, and attention. One day, a local reporter visited the home to interview the residents and learn more about the impact of Elon's visit. Betty was asked what she thought of the changes that had taken place, and her response was simple yet powerful. "Before Elon came, we were forgotten. But now we're not just the old people at the back of the room. We're part of the community. We matter." That statement summed up the essence of the transformation. It wasn't just about the fancy technology or the new programs. It was about giving the elderly a voice, a sense of dignity, and a reminder that they were valued members of society. Elon's visit had sparked a movement, and it was clear that the ripple effect was being felt far beyond the walls of the old age home. Communities across the country began to take notice and follow suit. Other elderly care facilities started adopting similar programs, and the conversation around the elderly began to shift. No longer were they seen as a group to be pitied or ignored. They were seen as a source of wisdom, history, and potential. As for Elon, the experience had taught him something important. He had always been focused on creating the next big thing, pushing the boundaries of technology and exploring the stars. But after visiting the old age home, he realized that sometimes the most important work wasn't about building rockets or electric cars. It was about connecting with people and making a real difference in their lives. That realization stayed with him long after he left the old age home. He continued to support elderly care initiatives, often sharing his experience with others and encouraging them to do the same. He didn't just want to be known for his work in technology. He wanted to be known for making the world a better place for everyone, regardless of their age or background. The impact of his visit had been profound. It had not only changed the lives of the elderly women at the old age home, but it had also sparked a movement of kindness, compassion, and respect for the elderly. Elon Musk had taken the time to listen to their stories, and in doing so, he had shown the world that the elderly, too, deserve the best of what society has to offer. It wasn't just about Elon's visit. It was about how one small act of kindness could create a ripple effect of positive change. By visiting the old age home, he had shown that no one should ever be forgotten, no matter how old they are. And in doing so, he had made a lasting difference in the lives of the elderly women who would forever remember the day Elon Musk visited their home. The ripple effect from Elon Musk's visit to the old age home spread far beyond the walls of that single facility. Communities across the country began to realize that investing in the elderly, treating them with kindness, respect and care, was just as important as investing in new technologies or innovations. There was a growing recognition that society had to do more to care for its older members, and Elon's gesture served as a beacon of inspiration for others to follow. Local governments started to take note as well. Seeing the success of the initiative, some mayors and community leaders reached out to Elon Musk's team, asking for guidance on how they could replicate the program in their own cities. They realized that the impact of one visit had led to a transformation in attitudes toward the elderly, and they wanted to make sure that every elderly person in their communities had the same opportunities for connection, engagement and respect. Across the country, people started to form new volunteer groups, aimed at supporting elderly care facilities. Some students organized projects where they would spend time with elderly people in care homes, just as the students had done in the program inspired by Elon's visit. These efforts, while initially small, grew exponentially. Schools began including programs about the importance of intergenerational connection as part of their curriculum, teaching students the value of engaging with elderly people, learning from their life experiences, and giving back to their communities. Betty, who had become an unofficial spokesperson for the elderly women at the home, began giving talks at local schools, community centers, and even some corporate offices. She shared her story and explained how the program had brought joy, dignity, and purpose back into the lives of the elderly women at the home. Her speeches often moved people to tears, and many left with a renewed sense of purpose to help make the world a better place for everyone, especially the elderly. One day, Betty was invited to speak at a national conference on aging, where experts in elderly care, technology and community development gathered to discuss ways to improve the quality of life for senior citizens. Her presence at the conference was a testament to how far the impact of Elon's visit had traveled. When she took the stage and began her speech, the audience gave her a standing ovation, and she was hailed as a true advocate for the elderly. In her speech, she made a powerful statement that resonated with everyone. People used to see us as a burden, a part of society that was too far removed from the world of innovation and progress. But what Elon Musk showed us is that we are not forgotten. We are a part of the future too, and every one of us has something valuable to offer. No one should ever feel invisible, no matter their age. Her words struck a chord with the audience. Many of them were in positions of power, whether in government, business, or non-profit organizations. Inspired by her passion, they began to push for policies that would improve the lives of the elderly across the country. There was a shift in the conversation. Suddenly, aging wasn't something to fear or ignore, but something to embrace, learn from, and celebrate. The elderly care homes that had implemented similar programs to the one that Elon had inspired were flourishing. Residents had better mental and emotional health because they were more connected to the outside world. They had new activities to look forward to, such as reading sessions with young students, virtual reality sessions where they could explore the world from the comfort of their homes, and more frequent interactions with the community. They no longer felt isolated, and in many cases they were finding new purposes in their lives, whether it was teaching others, mentoring younger generations, or simply enjoying their time more fully. Elon Musk continued to show his support in various ways. He made donations to elderly care facilities to help fund projects that promoted engagement between generations, and his companies started collaborating with elderly care providers to create better technology solutions for the elderly. Elon's leadership and commitment to this cause had sparked a movement, one that would continue to grow long after he had left the old age home. As for the elderly women in the old age home, their lives were forever changed. Many of them now spent their days laughing, sharing stories, and connecting with others in ways they had never done before. They had experienced something profound, an acknowledgement of their worth, a recognition that their experiences and perspectives were valuable. They had been seen by someone who didn't just look at them as old, but as individuals with histories, dreams, and stories to tell. The success of Elon's visit ultimately led to a global conversation about aging and the elderly. It wasn't just about technology. It was about human connection. It was about ensuring that as people grew older, they didn't fade into the background of society. Instead, they should remain at the forefront, celebrated for the wisdom they carried, the lessons they had learned, and the love they still had to offer. Elon's visit had proved that even in the face of the rapid changes and advances in technology, there was still an urgent need for compassion, respect, and understanding. His simple act of visiting the old age home had sparked a change that rippled across society, reminding everyone that no one, no matter their age, should ever be forgotten. The message was clear. Kindness, empathy, and respect for the elderly were not just nice ideals, but necessary components of a just and compassionate society. Elon Musk had used his influence to make a real difference. But it was the collective action of people everywhere, young, old, and from all walks of life, that would ensure the elderly continued to live with dignity, purpose, and love. It was about more than one visit. It was about changing the way we all see the elderly and the way we treat each other as human beings, no matter our age. It was a reminder that small acts of kindness can lead to big changes, and that every person has the potential to leave a lasting impact on the world. And so, the story of Elon Musk's visit to the old age home lives on, not as a single moment, but as a turning point in the way society values its older members. It's a story that reminds us that, at the end of the day, we are all part of a greater whole. A community that thrives on kindness, respect, and the connections we share with one another, no matter how old we are. As time passed, Elon Musk's gesture continued to inspire people all over the world. The ripples from that day at the old age home grew into a powerful wave, transforming communities and organizations across the globe. But what truly became evident was how a simple act of kindness could serve as a catalyst for larger societal change. In cities far and wide, leaders began pushing for initiatives that emphasized elderly care, respect, and involvement in daily life. Health services for the elderly were revamped, with more emphasis on social programs that connected them to their families and communities. Retirement homes and long-term care facilities incorporated recreational activities and workshops designed to foster new skills and relationships, allowing older generations to actively participate in the world around them. Elon's efforts didn't stop at the old age home. His involvement sparked the creation of various charities focused on improving the lives of seniors, providing them with educational resources, and ensuring they had access to technologies that could help them stay connected with the outside world. From virtual reality sessions to tech workshops tailored to older adults, it became clear that age should never be a barrier to learning, exploration, or happiness. What began as a personal visit turned into a movement that transcended borders. Governments, companies, and non-profit organizations teamed up, realizing that the aging population had a wealth of untapped potential. They became dedicated to eradicating the loneliness, isolation, and neglect that often accompanied old age. Elon Musk's vision for a more inclusive society wasn't limited to technology. It extended to the care and well-being of every individual, no matter how old they were. Meanwhile, the old age home where Elon's visit first sparked change flourished. The elderly women who had once felt invisible now became the heart of the community. With the support of the local community and even global volunteers, they found themselves not just as passive recipients of care, but as active participants in their communities. These women shared their experiences, mentored young people, and contributed to the local culture. Elon Musk occasionally visited other communities, always reminding the people he met of the importance of kindness, compassion, and respect for the elderly. His commitment to the cause remained unwavering. He didn't just provide funding or resources, he also became a symbol of how one individual's actions could have a ripple effect, ultimately creating lasting change. One particularly touching moment occurred when Betty, the elderly woman who had become a symbol of hope and dignity for others, was invited to attend a global technology conference. She was asked to speak about the impact that the program had on the lives of elderly women in her community and the importance of intergenerational connection. When Betty stood before the crowd, she shared her personal experience, telling them how her life had been transformed from one of isolation to one filled with connection, meaning, and purpose. Her speech moved many in the audience to tears. People from all over the world took her words to heart, and several companies reached out to collaborate on projects that would further enhance the lives of elderly citizens. It was evident that the shift in perspective, which had started with Elon's simple gesture, had become a global movement. What followed was a comprehensive global campaign focused on aging and its importance in society. As people realized the value of their elderly population, the initiatives to better their lives continued to grow. Schools and universities began offering courses on gerontology. The study of aging, and non-profit organizations began creating intergenerational spaces where young people and seniors could connect and learn from one another. At the old age home, Betty's story became a central theme in their ongoing mission. Not only did she share her story of transformation, but she also invited people to witness firsthand the changes happening within the facility. She often spoke about Elon Musk's visit, how it had inspired her to step out of her comfort zone and embrace a life of purpose, reminding people that no matter their age, they could always contribute meaningfully to the world around them. The program that had been sparked by Elon's visit continued to grow. More elderly homes adopted similar initiatives, and communities began designing new spaces where people of all ages could gather, interact, and learn from each other. Intergenerational programs flourished, where older adults mentored young people, and vice versa, ensuring that both generations benefited from each other's perspectives. In the media, coverage of elderly care and aging shifted. Stories about the elderly were no longer focused on their struggles or decline, but rather on their contributions, experiences, and wisdom. Journalists began showcasing the joys of old age, the opportunities for learning, and the incredible strength of older generations. This change in narrative was an important part of the movement, showing society that aging was not something to fear, but rather something to celebrate. Elon Musk's role in all of this became even more profound. He continued to use his platform to advocate for the elderly, using his position to push for policies that would improve senior care and ensure that technology would remain accessible to everyone, regardless of age. His vision of a future where all people, no matter how old, had access to the opportunities they deserved was slowly becoming a reality. The old age home where it all began became a beacon of hope for other facilities across the world. Residents, staff, and visitors alike embraced the principles of kindness, compassion and dignity, creating a thriving and vibrant community where everyone, regardless of age, had something valuable to contribute. In the end, it wasn't just about Elon Musk's visit. It was about the way that visit transformed society's view of aging, the elderly, and the importance of human connection. It was a reminder that the elderly were not a burden, but a valuable resource, and that every person, no matter how old, deserved to be treated with the utmost respect and kindness. Through his simple act of kindness, Elon Musk has shown the world that the future of our society should be built on the foundation of care, respect, and empathy for one another, no matter our age. His visit had sparked a change that not only improved the lives of the elderly women at that old age home, but also ignited a global movement that continues to shape the way we see and care for older generations today.